So sorry about the mess up today. I know some of you tried to log on and I was not there, so that is on me. But the good news is we can record, so here I am. So today's topic is about how to deal with potty talk, essentially. And here's a couple of tips. So when I say potty talk, I'm just going to clarify that what I mean is for little people, the word poop, hilarious. Body parts, penis, vulva, slang they use for those parts of the body. Those are what little people find highly entertaining. That does not seem to go away until they are 7, 8, 9. I mean, for some folks, that's just always hilarious. Farting, always hilarious. I think it doesn't matter how old you are. Anyway, so with those folks, it's just pretty easy to say to them, hey, it's not okay to say those words. So I'm going to ask you to stop. And let's think of some other funny words you can say, and then redirect. If a kiddo is using, all this, right? Adult-like language, that age for sure, then you need to find out what's happening. Where did they hear that? Because that can be a sign of porn exposure or living with folks who use that slang, like older kids, parents, that kind of stuff. Because people swear, like I swear, as you all probably know. And my kid was not a swearer, because I think that's because his father's not a swearer. So, so kids will mimic, right? So you just want to keep an ear out for adult-like language, adult-like slang, because that can be a red flag. So just really easy, like, hey, it's not okay to talk like that. I'm just going to ask you to stop saying those words in that way. What else is a funny word? And then you can come up with some nonsense words. So there's that. Older kids. So we're looking at 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. When you hear these guys, it's very common for them to be having conversations about sexual stuff, because at this age, so let's talk about like 9 to 12, excuse me, 9 to 12, they are getting more information about sexuality, ideally from their parents, that's age appropriate, but mostly they're going to be getting it from their peers. And as you may recall, there was a lot of chatter when you were a kid, right? About sex in general, crushing, kissing, making out, like there was all this data that we were getting. So our kids are still getting that same information, but a lot of it is more adult-like because the media they're exposed to is usually more adult-like. There are, obviously the porn exposure, hanging out with older kids that are having, more of that kind of language. So again, poop, farts, all hilarious, butts, that kind of stuff, super funny. Same thing with the little people, right? Hey, it's not okay to use that kind of language. Swearing, same thing. Hey, it's not okay to use that kind of language. So I'm going to ask you to stop. And so same kind of put the kibosh on that kind of thing. But if kids are having a conversation about something that is sexual, maybe you overhear them talking about, what oral sex is, or they might be talking about, what happens when a baby's made, like what with the what, that kind of thing. They may talk about maybe periods or hard-ons or, wet dreams or any kind of thing. So they might be having some chat about that kind of thing. So again, what you're listening for is this age appropriate? And if the conversation is about something that's related to puberty, reproduction, consent, body parts, all of that probably is age appropriate. But if they are talking about actual sex acts, if they are talking about anything that's violent, rape, assault, something like that, you really want to turn up your radar. No matter what, you're going to turn up your radar, right? And you're going to listen to what they're saying. In the moment, you may need to pop in and say, hey, I hear you guys are talking about some kind of sexual stuff. It's not okay to talk about that here. And I know you're curious and this is stuff's going on in your lives, but if you need help or support or want to talk about this, can't do it here, but you can do it, with your parent or caregiver or just not on site. And you can say to them, people are uncomfortable when they hear that kind of language. And so you just need to be, smart about it. So no talking like that here. So that's generally speaking. With the little people, say that thing about people feeling uncomfortable when they hear those words, right? Because it's true-ish. And I'm sorry, but they can be so funny, the little ones. But anyway, so If the kids are talking about something that is got your, like your, uh-oh, this does not sound good, this sounds adult-like, it sounds like they've been porn exposed or something else is going on, then stop it in the moment. And then you're going to need to talk to the kids individually because you need to be sure that they're safe. And especially again, if it's really adult-like or graphic. And, you know, that conversation should happen in front with another person there just to protect you, and just really casually, you know, kindly say, hey, you were talking about this, just curious, you know, where you got that information. It sounds really adult-like. And say, you know, have you seen some videos or anything like that online that might be giving you this information? You know, who else are you talking about this with? Because you're just going to do that very gentle kind of dive in, right? Like to feel out what's happening. And then with older teens, you can just be like, hey, knock it off. That is so not okay here. Other kids can hear you. So please zip it. It's totally fine to say that to them. And again, depending on what they're talking about, you need to be careful because sometimes you'll overhear something, and I'm going to give you an example, and it may not be that they've said very much, but it's something that you need to address because it could be not safe for them, or something could be up. So once upon a time, I was teaching a class at Boys and Girls Club here in Seattle in King County, and I was working with the folks who worked with the older kids. And so one of the staff people, he was a guy, said that he was, you know, just doing his thing, observing and watching them and hanging out with them. And he said, there's this gal, she's about, I think she was 14. And he said he just happened to look over at her, and she's looking at one of her, the other kids there. And I'm a teenager, I'm assuming. And she kind of cocks her hip and she says, sorry, this is graphic, by the way. She says, can't wait to feel that inside me. Yeah, red flags, right? And so this poor person who witnessed this was like, oh my God, she needs to know, and it's not okay to talk like that. So for him, it was not safe for him to talk to her directly about that, because you know why. So he told his director, and then the director had a conversation with her. And the reason that needed to be addressed is because it is not okay or safe for anybody, but a child, a teenager, to talk like that out in public, because it tells people, they'll make up stories like, oh, she's sexually active, and okay, great, I can prey on her, right? So if this guy had not been a good guy, he could have been like, ding, ding, ding. That it is, it's just totally inappropriate to say those kinds of things in your out loud voice. It's a terrible way to seek attention. And so those things are what I'm saying to you. What the director said to this young gal is, you know, hey, you know, somebody overheard you saying this, just wanted to check in with you and just let you know, it is not okay or safe to say things like that, because people make decisions about you. That you probably don't want them thinking about you. And so she had a little chat about that. Couple things there. The reason this gal did this, she could have just been attention seeking, because there were other girls there, and she could have just been kind of like showing off her sexual something. So it could be that she's just saying that. It could be that she did want that, which is fine, because people at 14 they do want to have sex. So yeah, maybe she was sexually active, and that she legitimately, I know, look at me, I'm so judgmental, whatever, like she legitimately wanted to have sex or would have sex with him. And if she were sexually active, then that's another conversation, right? Because we don't want people at 14 getting STIs or, getting knocked up. So that's another just example of how to handle that kind of thing. Ideally with something like this gal, it's so hard, you want to intimidate them, but having obviously somebody who's the same gender talk with them if that's possible. If it's not, then if you're different gender, then you need to have someone that's the same gender as that like as her, just for protection, again, for yourself, because, shit happens. She could come back and say, well, I didn't say that. And he said all this awful stuff to me. And now I'm, he's a predator, right? We don't want that. Anyway. Okay. I hope this was helpful. I'm super sorry I was flaky. I'm not going to be flaky next month. Of course, I can't remember what we're talking about because I can never remember. So you'll get a reminder email, and I will see you soon. And again, as always, if you think some of the things I'm talking about would be helpful to your staff or whoever you work with, please let them know. Your folks who are in charge of training. I actually have a new training on gender. Oh, that's what we're talking about next time, on gender and sexual orientation. I don't know if you've noticed, but lots of kids are changing their genders and being very open about their sexual orientations. And this can be very confusing to grownups. The kids are fine. We're the ones who are like, what the? Anyway, okay, thank you. Thanks for putting up with me. Have a good rest of your day. Bye.